Hey, what's going on? My name is Chris Hawkes, and this is your Best Life Defined. It's the day after Labor Day weekend. It's Tuesday. It's kind of a sad thing to watch. You know, when you spend a lot of time in an RV park, which most people don't. Most people spend a month, a weekend or maybe a week. Those are long stays in an RV park. So when you see people coming and going, it just feels like you, right? It's just like what you do. But when you're a full timer, when you wake up every day and you live in an RV park where this is your life, you're kind of on vacation. I mean, we don't live quite like we're on vacation. We don't eat out a lot, and we try to keep alcohol to a minimum. Not every night is a party, and we don't eat massive meals or massive gobs of potato salad every day. It's just kind of our life. And this weekend on about Wednesday, I think they started trickling in. I call them the weekenders. And they come in as families and they're all excited and they're all energized about their life and that whole weekend thing. It's a holiday, right? Get 3 days off from work and everything goes good. And after about an hour and a half of unloading shit out of the truck and getting everything organized, it's time to have some beers, and there's good food and barbecue and conversation and all that. And the fun continues. Saturday's usually a little slow. If you come in on a Friday night, Saturday's a little slower because everybody's trying to shake off what they did the night before. And then, of course, it ramps back up. And Saturday night, it's cool. And on a long weekend like this, where you don't actually have to be back to work until Tuesday, this cycle continues. But what's sad is on Sunday, the RV park turns into like a dead land. There's no movement. Everybody's just sitting around, looking at each other, having their final meal, drinking coffee, realizing that they're going back to something else. I don't have to look. I'm just looking at it. This isn't my story. This is what I see, right? And I know what it is. I know that most everyone who is leaving is headed back to some obligation that's not nearly as much fun as it was to arrive to the RV park on Friday or Wednesday or Thursday, whenever they decided to show up. There's the things that are waiting for most of these people back home really doesn't even come close to compare. It's about traffic and about getting to work and about fixing things and about staying busy and earning money and paying bills. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just be like a RV or a camper? I mean, where your life was centered around things that you actually enjoy doing. Well, when you think about that, when you actually put that to thought and you ask yourself questions about it, how do you suppose that happens? How do you suppose you go from where you are now to being what you want to be? To your life, to you personally, that encompasses who you are, right? So what do you want to be? If you're not wanting to be something, guess what? You're probably wasting time. If you're not wanting to be someone, if you're not energized about some aspect of your life, some goal, some accomplishment, some place you haven't brought your life yet, you might be sitting in the wrong place. I mean, truly, you might be sitting in the wrong place because that type of action creates energy. All right, so take a minute wherever you are and let's think about this. What do you want to be? Or actually, what are you trying to be right now? That's even a more effective question because that's going to define clearly those who are rolling it, those who are rocking it, those who are trying to move forward from those who aren't. If you're just trying to be what you're already being, guess what? You already got there. Remember, life is a box. And success comes when we push beyond that box. Now, for some of us, like me, and I should settle. I shouldn't even be doing this. I'm good with where I am. I mean, I have access to the things that I love to do. Sandy has access to the things she loves to do. We really enjoy each other's company, so that's not an issue. Our kids are doing great. Our family gets along really well. So I could actually stop. But there are still things in my life I want to become. I want to become an author. I want to become a mentor. I want to become a motivational speaker. There are things in my future that I am still going after, things I want to be. Now look at you. What do you want to be? Tough question. They're always tough questions when we look at ourselves. I guess that's the downside of being me, is that I continually look at myself and ask myself questions about all kinds of crazy shit, all kinds of things about happiness and contentment and why things are the way they are, and specifically why it is so hard for us to change from where we are to where we want to be. And what it comes down to for me is it's simple. It's based on fear, first and foremost. Most of us are afraid, or at least we're more comfortable with where we are right now than where we could be. Because where we could be, if we haven't been there before, is unknown. How's that going to work out? How's that going to work out for me to work a full-time job, go to school, and get a degree while watching kids and take care of the house and keeping the spouse, my partner, happy? And how's that going to, oh no, I just can't. I can't add anything else to my life. When you say, this is what I want to be, what you are saying is, I'm going to knock a big-ass hole in the wall, on one of the walls of my life, in one of the 4 confining walls that keep me in my box, because that's what success is, and that's how success is achieved. It's done by you waking up one day and saying, okay, this is the parameters of my life, I'm breaking through the wall. Freaking knock a hole in that wall. That's what this is. Me showing up here every day, I'm knocking a hole in my wall. I'm not the same person I was before I started this. I've created something completely new. And what's cool about it is it doesn't matter. This is who I have become. This is who I want to be. And the way we get there, so let's go back here. The way we get there is, first and foremost, you have to know yourself. Now, knowing yourself is scary, because knowing yourself requires you to look at who you are in a real light, in a clear lens, not distorted by what you'd like to have happen or what you don't want to face in your life, but simply based on truth and fact. And that is what you see. And most people don't want to do that. That's why counseling is so difficult for people. I don't need no help. I told my wife that for years. I ain't going to no counselor. But it wasn't because I didn't need any help. It was because I was scared to death that if I went and got help and I got counseling, and worse than that, if my wife got counseling, you know what she'd figure out? She'd figure out that I wasn't nearly as great as I had convinced her that I was, and she'd leave my ass. But sometimes, in order for you to go be what you want to be, you have to take those steps. I was scared to death. I'm not scared to death anymore. I talk about my feelings all the time. It's funny, Sandy gets uncomfortable about it. My wife, she does. She looks at me, and it's still an odd thing for her to see who used to be this tough warrior pillar of steel on my white horse come off of that, or fall off of it, and her to find me vulnerable and me say, I don't know. I'm struggling right now. But I'll tell you what, it's almost instantaneous. It's almost like as soon as you admit it, as soon as you say those words, it's gone. And that's the same thing that's true for goals. I've said it before. All action begins with a thought. Well, I take that one step further. Instead of me just having a thought, what I do is I turn that into a story. Like the story right now that's keeping me showing up here every day is that I'm changing the world. And the story that keeps me showing up here every day is that I believe that when you go out and you create something, when you go out and you put an effort into something, a solid effort, and you continue on your path, eventually, if you don't give up, you will run into something that gives you the opportunity you're looking for. I have no doubt eventually someone's going to say, wow, this guy's got some ideas, man. This guy's cool. Am I the most interesting? Hell, I don't know if I'm interesting. Shit, I'm just a guy who showed up one day and realized that kindness is a lot better than hate and anger. I'm just a guy who showed up every day and said, hey, listen, I think I can help you. So let's get back to you. What do you want to be? What do you want to be? Hard choice, ain't it? But if you're looking inside yourself and you ask yourself what you want to be, the first place you should go is to those things that inspire you. You can be a lot of things. I play the guitar, I do podcasts, I write, I work out, I mountain bike. Most of the stuff I do are outside activities, but there are creative aspects of my life that just add so much value. Find a creative spot. Become a painter, become a potter, or start playing music. But be something. Because every moment that goes by where you are stopped is like sitting in a traffic jam every day. If your life isn't moving forward, it's not going anywhere. If you're not headed in a direction, if you're not standing at the wall of your life and trying to punch a hole through it with some idea you have about where you can be, you're sitting still. You are trapped in that pond. And if you take a look down the road, here's the thing. Take a look down the road at anyone who is 20 years older than you that's lived a similar life than you. And that's where you're going to be. Unless you start now. Unless you say, okay, I'm going to punch a hole in the wall. What do I want to be? And then you pick that thing and you go after it until you achieve it or until you find something better to work for. But life is an MMA fight. I'll say it a million times. It's an MMA fight. And how do fights end? How do those fights end? The last 30 seconds of those fights are just tearing it up. I get to the end of my life. I'm gonna be beat up, man. My eyes are gonna be swelled shut because I'm gonna fight for every bit of it, every day. What's funny is, I don't know, I'm sitting here thinking about this. What's funny is that we often look at people that are successful or have achieved more than we have as having some unique gift or something they got going on in their life that gave them that, or gave them the upper hand we don't have access to. But that's not true. The only difference between people who've achieved immense success in their relationships, in their finances, in their careers, is that the people who achieve those immense successes take action in spite of the struggle they face. They're just good at struggle. They're just good at doing what they do. They're good at facing it and saying, you know what, it's not an emotional issue for me. It is a physical issue. It's a decision. It's ones and zeros. And you're going to hear that a lot because that's how life works. It's ones and zeros. Do it or don't do it, right? And that's how they get there. That's how they get from where they are to where they want to be, or become what they want to be. Are you becoming what you want to be? Do you wake up every day with something in your head that no matter what else is going on, you just can't get away from it? Something you don't know a lot about, but you're energized by, or maybe you know a lot about and all of a sudden you've got re-energized to the idea that you can actually do something with it. If you're not waking up that way, you're not moving. Your ship is not moving. All that stuff you do every day, the going to work, the sitting in traffic, the shopping, the taking the kids here and there, doing the housework, doing everything you do day in and day out, that's not taking you anywhere. That's just maintaining where you're at. You're just sitting in your pond idling, and maybe a whim will push you over here. You go do a little of this and a little of that, but you ain't doing anything that's breaking down the walls of your life. You ain't opening anything up with your actions, I can tell you that. And that's the ticket. That is where it comes from. That is where figuring out what you want to be comes from, and it's required thinking. It's like, okay, what else can I do? You know, you ever see a kid like he's in a playground, he walks up to the playground, he's looking around, he's like, oh man, and there's so much crap he wants to do. Or you're in an amusement park when you was a kid, same thing. What do you want to ride first? I don't know. All right, let's try that. Well, when you think about it, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, okay, all right, you have the house, you have the car, you have the kids, you have all that stuff you have. Maybe it's time for you to do something else. Maybe it's time for you to become something else. Maybe it's time for you to scan your horizon and say, okay, what other option do we have? What can I be now? I can be more fiscally responsible. I can be a better partner. I can be a better father. I can be a better friend. I can be a better employee. What do I want to be? And then you just do it. Am I doing everything I can to be the best I can be? No, not always. I mean, old habits die hard. There's just no way around it. Old habits die hard. But the reality is that the way you curb those habits is you pick up new habits. And that's where the ones and zeros come in. It's an action thing. It's not anything else. It's not an emotional thing. It's not about happiness. It's about achieving goals and living a better life. And sometimes that just sucks. But you're going to be something. You are going to be something. The day that you're sitting there on your bed or wherever it happens and you're taking your last breaths, you will have become something. The question you should probably be asking yourself is, will you be happy with who you've become, with what you've become, and with what you've done in your life? Start today. What are you going to become? What do you want to be? That's a good one for you. Hey, listen, man, it's been wonderful. I'm having a really good time here. That kind of sound like an ass chewing. It's really not intended to be that way, but sometimes I'm just kind of working it, and sometimes it's about this thing right here too. But it was cool this weekend. Met a bunch of nice people, or a few nice people. Everyone seemed to social distance pretty good. I mean, I didn't feel it threat at all. And like I said, got a chance to talk to some people at a distance while the weekend was going on. And I forgot just how much I love to stand in front of people and talk. It's really cool because I think even if there are some who don't, I believe we have a really interesting story. Sandy and I have been through a lot of crap. We've evolved, and it's just kind of a cool thing for me to share with you. I really do appreciate you showing up every day. I hope you'll take some of this at heart. I mean, not everything I say is going to be for you, and sometimes I'm just off key on what I'm doing, but the idea here isn't for you to absorb everything I'm sharing with you. The idea is for you to pick and choose those things that fit who you are and the life you want to live. And it kind of it leans on that idea of action and having to step forward and take those steps to get there. And if you do that, man, that is cool. I really appreciate it. Just take a look around at how blessed you are. That's where it starts. Take a look around at how many things you can say you have blessings, or how many wonderful things are in your life, and then build on that. And as always, just, it's a platform of kindness. There is way too much hate and anger in the world. And if you have beliefs in a higher power, I would suspect those beliefs include kindness and love. So let's try that. If you feel the inclination to talk bad about someone or say something bad about someone, just hold it. Because you're throwing negative energy in the world, and you're throwing negative energy in your universe. That bad stuff, that bad juju you throw out, who knows where the hell that's going to end up. So, and anyway, but like I said, I keep showing up. I hope you do check out my YouTube channel if you're listening to this on a pod or a podcast app. I would love you to go by, if you're on YouTube, go by and check out my podcast. It's a little easier to listen to. I'm not sure if I'm good looking enough for you to have to look at me for the length of one of these conversations. But at any rate, today's your day. Just remember that, and be sure you make it a good one.